So I got a good question from our buddy Mike on Twitter. He sent me a message saying, do you think a grappling dummy is useful to a newbie? Obviously live drilling and rolling with a live partner is best. So he's asking, do I think a grappling dummy is useful to a newbie? Mike, first off, thanks for the question, brother. I appreciate it. Secondly, let me just add that I personally, just right off the bat, think that in most cases, grappling dummies are a waste of money. They're just a waste of time and money. You're probably going to buy one and you're not going to use it, okay? And I base that off of my experience with most people that I've met over the years. So a lot of my students have purchased grappling dummies and almost none of them actually use them. In fact, like a lot of times what ends up happening is they get the grappling dummy and they're usually pretty expensive. They may have gone down in price. I haven't looked recently, but they used to be really expensive. And like, you know, when they realize they're never going to use them, they like try to give them to someone else. They're like, hey, do you want to buy this grappling dummy? It's great. I mean, I don't use it, but here, you can have it, right? And try to make some money back on it. And one case in particular, me and a roommate back in the day, this was like around 2008, we actually had a matted room up in our house in like one of the spare rooms, so we in the basement. So we actually had a matted room where we would train, because there was 3 of us living together in this house and we all trained jiu-jitsu, so I mean, we'd always just drill and train together. But one of our buddies bought a grappling dummy to get a little extra in, and that fucking grappling dummy, like no one ever used it. The thing that thing got used more of was like sort of a gag, like around the house. Like we would put the grappling, we named him Larry. So we would put Larry around like different parts of the house. Like we would sit him down at the kitchen table so that when someone would flip the light on in the middle of the night, they'd have this person sitting there. You know, in one case, I remember I was getting ready to leave for work, and my girlfriend was staying over at the house at the night, and so like I just told her, you go ahead and sleep, whatever, you know, and you can leave. You know, she had a key at the place. So, but I took the grappling dummy and I put them against my bedroom door, so as soon as she came out to walk out, this thing fell on her, and I got an angry text later on when I was at work because of that. So that's what it got used mostly for, was just goofing around, and then it sat in the corner if it wasn't being used for that. Eventually he ended up selling it on Craigslist or eBay or something to make a little bit of money back, but it never got used. Now, I do have some students that use their grappling dummies and actually, you know, get something out of it. You know, they actually get in there and they do drills like bullfighter drills and armbar drills and things like that. One of them even uses like lapel chokes and stuff to kind of feel the grips out a little bit. What I would say to you though is, and this is what I've kind of seen, if you are going to use the grappling dummy, you need to make sure that you have like a little place in your house that's like your grappling area, right? Like some place. It doesn't necessarily have to be a whole room, but just a little section of a room. For instance, like I have a section of my living room that it has like a yoga mat on it, and it's like this little area there where I have everything set up. So this way, like I know when I'm there, when I'm in that little section of my living room, I'm there to stretch and work on my mobility and deep breathe and relax, right? And what happens a lot of times, it's the same reason why a lot of those home workouts don't work. You know, when you come into the gym, right, you're mentally like wiring yourself to train. When you go to work, you're getting ready to work. When you go to the gym, you're getting ready to lift. You know, a lot of these areas that we go through in life, all these different places, as soon as we go through the doors, our mind gets into a different, like, it clicks, it goes into a different gear, right? It goes into a different mindset. And so you want to have some area of your house where, like, when you step through that door, when you move to this section of the room, onto these mats with this dummy, you're now in training mode rather than I'm in my living room with this giant doll, right? So you want to make sure you do that because, you know, again, it's just, otherwise it's going to be really difficult for you to actually use it and stay consistent with it. And in most cases, what I would probably tell you to do instead of getting a grappling dummy is probably just getting a small little area of mats, inviting one of your training partners over to your house, you know, and if you're going to spend the money on grappling dummies, I'm sure you're buying like DVDs and stuff, right? So have them come over, you guys can watch the DVD set together, and you guys can drill, and then afterwards eat lunch, hang out together, and you get to train with your friends rather than just training with a giant doll, right? Again, they have purposes, but as like I said, most of the time people just don't use them. So that is my answer, Mike. If you decide to go through and buy one, make sure you segment some part of your house as your grappling area. They can be useful tools, but you have to stay consistent and you got to stay disciplined with them. And most people just don't do that. Most people, again, they come to the gym partly because of the fact that they don't have the discipline to just kind of do stuff on their own. It's a lot easier when you're in a group of people and your coach is pushing you. But if you do decide to do it, they can be a useful tool to beginners because you can take the things that you were doing at the gym and you can go home and kind of tweak around with them a little bit on this dummy and see if it helps you. But again, my advice to you would be, if you are going to spend the money to buy one, they are pretty expensive. Like I said, I haven't looked recently, but they usually used to be expensive. See if you can find a set of mats that are around the same price, and just have your friends come over. You can just roll them out sometimes, and then you guys can train on the mats together, and you can develop a better relationship with your training partner, and it's going to be way more useful in the long run. So that is my advice to you. Good luck, Mike. Thanks for the question, brother.